so you'll see a lot of people, a lot of IITs who started Olas, Flipkarts, and then TVF, me. So all of us are in that journey. There's a kind of comedian called Ripple Goel. Again, my background from IIT Bombay. So all of us in that time, because there was a crisis, it gave us an opportunity to question our choices, to question what's conventional wisdom, right? So in that time, because it was a unique time, that all of us just went into the unknown trying to do our own thing. And so I was always doing theatre since I was in school. Thanks to my teachers, they were very passionate about theatre, singing and cultural activities. And I was doing the same thing in IITs. IITs, by the way, for people who are not aware, is an extremely competitive place. So students are competing for everything, not just their grades. So there's huge hostel rivalries, and so we compete for music, we compete for plays, we compete for dance. If you just go to YouTube and type IITB inter-hostel dance competition, you'll be surprised to see the level of students' performances. Same with music and drama and all of that. And so long story short, I thought, why not do this? And when you are 24, 23 years old and you have an IITB graduation degree, you think highly of yourself. And so I thought, all it takes is hard work, right? That's what we taught. All it takes is hard work, and the principles of success are same everywhere. So I said, if all it takes is hard work and then you get talented as you go along, it should be fine. And so I went on the journey, and here we are.
Fantastic. I think that deserves a round of applause of how easily he just gave us a message saying all it takes is hard work.
This is one thing we're going to take with us and go, which is all it takes is hard work. So thank you for that mantra. Moving on, what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly channelize this. My voice is perfect.
All right.
We have limited time. Madhukarji has been very strict with me on the timing. So here's how I'm going to divide it. I'm going to have 10 minutes of conversation where you all as audience will feel you know him more, but you know his movie all the more. That's my first agenda. In the next 5 minutes, so my 10 minutes are for that, the next 5 minutes are going to be broken down specifically about Indian temples. And there is a statement that Nikhilji made online, which I don't know if he remembers, is Indian temples are owned by Indian government. What did he mean by that and why did he say that? And then the following 5 minutes are for you all to ask your questions. Are we set?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Amazing. So let's get going, Nikhilji.
Okay, Nikhilji. So we're going to start with the first question. Tell us more about your journey of why you started this documentary, which you just answered. All it takes is hard work. But why did you use or decide this channel, which is so challenging in many aspects of life, right? Why Sanatan Dharma? Why Hindutva? Why all of these? Please give us a background.
No, so I had done with Indian Dialogues. Indian Dialogues, the producer of this film, is a California-based film company. And so they do a lot of Indian American content. And so when the Baptist temple raid was happening, I just read it on my own social media sitting in India. And I just knew that, this is wrong. And I just told them that, somebody should do something about it. And so that conversation then resulted into this. And so this is something that I'm telling you, which you won't find online, is getting permission to shoot inside temples is very, very tough. And then getting the priests to talk about caste, which is a political issue in India, not so much as a social issue, it definitely is no longer a religious issue. But it is such a political issue that no government employee, in this case temple priests, want to speak about it. So we had to convince them that we are not covering the political, we are not trying to make a political point, we are not trying to make a social point, we are not trying to whitewash our history, we are not trying to whitewash our present. And so with those many writers, they agreed to come and they agreed to be part of the film. So after this was done, we showed it to them, they blessed us, and hence the film is in front of you. So it takes a lot of hard work to put this kind of thing with all these kind of riders that get thrown to a filmmaker to bring this to you. So it took me 2 years and extensively traveled across all the corners of India, tried to include different types of temples and different regions of India because we are so culturally diverse. So I hope in the end, you along with second generation Indian Americans, along with Americans who've got nothing to do with India but are goodwill ambassadors, can see it and make their own mind about the date of August.
Thank you. I mean, that is a phenomenal work you put
Okay,
in.
so thank you for putting in the work. So here's another question. You said this is not a social movie, not a political movie, not a whitewash. Then what is it?
So this is a movie which tells you how can you, it gives you a tool to question whatever information you get. So the film, I start the film by digging out the charges against current Indian society, not Indian American society, but Indian society. And I said, okay, we all see Hollywood films, and so all you've seen is, you say, truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So I said, let's use this idiom and let's figure out whatever is being said about my society. What is the truth? What is the whole truth? And what is nothing but the truth? And while everybody has seen Hollywood movies, you've not really thought, you're saying truth 3 times. Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And in that order. And so there's a lot of political churning in reaching those 3 words, truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if we employ that, I think anything that we read about any society, we can always ask, okay, this is what, in an earlier interaction like this, I said, I do not ascribe any motive to American mainstream media. I just think they're intellectually lazy because they can't get their own country right, most of the time. And here we expect them to get a country which is quite literally 7 seas apart, right? So how do I reach that, and why I want people who will see my film to take this approach of whatever you read about yourself or India or China or whatever, just see, is this the truth? Is this the whole truth? And then is this nothing but the truth? And so in a sense, the film, while not talking about it, is also trying to empower you to see misinformation, how to understand misinformation. So that would be a hidden agenda, so to speak, of the film.
Got it. When you say misinformation, what are the 3 top information that you think are misinformed?
Right. So one, everybody has to understand that India is very complicated. It is incredibly diverse, and it is diverse because of geography. And then also, we are not a static society. So we are constantly evolving to a point where I was in film school in LA, and I had an Indian American student with me. This is 2009. And this kid, born to Indian parents in America, was shocked to find out that girls wear jeans in India. This is 2009. And he was pleasantly surprised to know that we had Domino's Pizza. So, in his head, he has seen India through his father's or mother's eyes. And so for him, India existed in 1970s or 80s. Right? In 2009, when I was here, Netflix was not in India. And uncles and aunts, please forgive me, there was no Tinder in India. Now it is a phenomenon. Women were not dancing at their own wedding. Forget about dancing with their in-laws, right? And so all of these things, nobody has made these changes. There was no social reformer to have made these changes. All of these changes are happening in front of me. I was here 15 years earlier. While going back, I vowed I'm going back as a student and I'll come back as a filmmaker. Thankfully to Mother Divine, I am here as a filmmaker. But in that 15 years, my own society has changed so much that even Indian Americans in India, when they think or talk about India, they are talking of the India that they left. That India is very different today. And I would be wrong to talk about India maybe 20 years from today when I am in my 60s, and then I don't know what the kids are up to. And that would be a very different India. So internet penetration in India has had huge cultural changes. People are more in tune to the global trends. And so I think that is one misinformation that we are all guilty of. So that's why I say that let's not ascribe any motive to the mainstream media. They don't have the resources and they are intellectually lazy. We don't need to be. Most of us are STEM graduates. So we can use our scientific mind to understand and not ascribe motive, and no motive, nobody hates us. People are just intellectually lazy because they're not science graduates, they're not doctors and engineers like you. So that's what I think.
So global information or global internet penetration is one misinformation that probably you're trying to target through the movie. What are the other two?
So the other two is because Dharma does not have a singular voice. So BAPS temple can fight a case in a court of law, right? But when a person with Indian name and a sociology degree and maybe $200,000 debt and is unemployable, writes something about all temples of India, like the person was saying, oh, Brahmins are on the top. Now, there is no such body which will sue him or her for making that statement, right? So, I did not want to make a film on the Black temple per se, because Black temple can hire a lawyer and they can defend themselves. But temples in general, Indian temples in general, who is speaking for them? And you can't speak for them because you are Indian American, and I have to speak for them, right? So I am speaking on the public square. So there is a sociology involved to how our society is evolving very quickly, which you might not be aware of, and then somebody from India has to stand up and say that what you're talking about my culture and defend the defenseless, in this case temple. So that was the second one, right? And then the third one is, because the country is so diverse, so if this is such an inside joke, if you say anything about India, Mark Twain says this, whatever you say about India is true. The opposite of what you say about India is also true in the same manner. So, while traveling throughout India, when I asked people that, oh, but we have heard in American papers and all those papers that X, Y, Z things happen in Indian temples. And you'll be surprised, this is how diverse India is. The person does not disbelieve the American mainstream media. He thinks, oh, this must be happening in Bihar. I was like, okay.
Got it.
Right, so Bihar is a so-called backward part of India. So everybody thinks, oh, this is not happening. But if somebody says something about India, it must be true, because we generally are people who believe in the goodness of others. So it does not occur to a priest in a temple in Odisha that American media could be misinformed or lying. He thinks that if somebody is saying something about India, it must be true. Right, but because it's not true in my state, chances are it's true in that state. And so, when you go to that state, they'll say, oh no, all of this does not happen here, this must be happening in UP. And so when you go to UP, they'll say, oh no, this must be happening in Bihar. So depending upon who you ask, our general perception is when we hear something negative about ourselves, we believe it. Right? We don't ascribe motive to the person who is talking something bad about us. We believe because India is so diverse, not one person, not one group, not one ethnic community can say they know India. And so, a lot of things can slide when you try and defame India. So that's our weakness because of our diversity.
So can I say your movie is about potentially your observation of defamation of India?
In 2025, so time is an important function in this equation. That's a maths reference, I'm sorry. I hope I can get away with the maths reference here in the Indian.
I'm sure they will, forgiving audience. Okay. Having said the fact that you tried to target things that were against Hindutva in the US, right? Like the Baptist temple case that you touched on. Sitting in India, perceiving these news and listening to this, what was your first impression when you heard that news about the case?
No, so this will come as a surprise to you, and especially to people who are American, not American Indian. America is incredibly popular across the world, thanks to Netflix, thanks to all New York Times articles and all of those things. So an average Indian knows more about American politics or American society and all of that than even an Indian American knowing about India, right? So we whether we like it or not, America is everybody's neighbor is a popular political slogan that you hear, right? So we know what's happening in America, whether we want to know or not. We know what's happening in America. And so
what is happening according to you? Tell us. We live here, maybe we don't know what you know.
I don't want to get into it. I don't want additional 5% tariff on my country. I know that's happening. So what happens is when you hear a lot of negative things about India. You go to any of those websites and you are dirty and blah blah, and then sometimes they are derogatory and all of that, and we take that in our stride. And sometimes what happens is you say, yeah, had that, meaning I've had it, right? So when the Baptist temple case was all over media, I really had it. And how you feel sometimes, you feel helpless of that. As a citizen of India, my first instinct was, what are Indian cultural institutions doing? Why don't they sue New York Times for defamation, right? So it really just comes from that. And I was really angry for like good 15, 20 days, and people like Nikhil, it does not work like that. You can't sue New York Times for defamation. It's not about money. There's a First Amendment and all of that. So you know, that's how jittery I got when I read this, because you say a temple trust that builds temple like this, you're saying that they're not paying the workers $10 extra is what you're saying. Does it even make sense? And then you don't just stop there. And then you just start tarnishing all the temples in India. Like there are more than 100,000 temples in India of various deities, of various different ways of worshipping, different ways of some temples do not allow male members, some temples are closed during certain times, some temples do not allow female members. So there are all kinds of belief and diversity. And here you are, not even STEM graduated, because in Indian society, if you're not doctor and engineer, what I do? My parents were, please don't hate me for it. You're not even STEM educated, and you're making a sweeping statement about India, the country as a whole. These bojos, to use the American term, right? Even I can't make a general statement about India. India is so diverse, and I've lived there, and I'll live there, and I'll die there. No one person can make a comment about India in its entirety, maybe the Prime Minister, because he or she in future would be that much informed. But none of us know India like that. So I got very angry, and I got the opportunity to do something about it. So I'm incredibly proud of it. So hence, you know, it will mean a lot to me that if you could see my labor of love. For no other reason except that a lot of effort has gone to it, and it is a labor of love.
An engineer in the sales pitch, huh? Very nice, I loved it. But no, you genuinely have put work for it, absolutely. So, about the Baptist case, that's what probably I'm assuming that was your initiation of why you decided to do a movie on it. You selected Brahmins. You, the subject is not only the Caste case, right? Brahmins and Dalit and access. Can you talk more about it?
Yeah. So of the list of 10 things that are obviously lies, the two easiest to debunk were that you had to be born a Brahmin to be a priest in a temple. Now that of course is not true, and it's not true, more not true as we go along. So it was not true in say 2000. It is so much not true in 2025, and it will be so much not true in 2050 because the society is evolving, right?
But according to our scriptures, Brahmins are the ones who take care of.
Yes,
Mandals,
but and Kshatriyas are supposed to fight for the country, right? But then and I am supposed to take care of my parents, right? And also be the Shravan Kumar that I can, but we know, and our thinkers also know that these are general guidelines and not rule of law. So our society has always been that. We have taken whatever is written in our scriptures as guidance. Right? So dharma is what? Is duty. But is that duty enforced? That duty is not enforced. Our scriptures are not saying you have to do this or else you are burning XYZ places, right? So we understand intuitively, nobody tells this to us, we understand that whatever is in our scriptures is a guiding principle, is a model principle by which you go. Of course, society evolves and things change. So today, you'll be surprised to find out that this has probably happened after the Bhakti movement has started. And Bhakti movement was in 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century, different parts of India, and post-which, there's a lot of renaissance that has happened.
Sorry, one quick second. Is everybody aware about what Bhakti movement is? Yes? No? Okay, let's get a quick brief about what it is, please.
Yeah, so what happened is, you could approach the divine both by worship in a very religious, theological way, and then you can also reach the divine by bhakti, by just singing and chanting the name and all of that. And while there is a lot of discipline required when you are trying to approach the divine from the theological side, from religious, what is that word? Puja and all of those activities, you have to be, it is very, very strict. But in bhakti, it is very, very lenient. It just says, open your heart to the divine and then, just go with it. So, bhakti movement happened in 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century in various parts of India. And post which, bhaktas then started getting empowered by the society to take care of the deities even in the temples. So now, as we will see in the movie tomorrow, in Odisha, which is the strictest, most conservative or one of the most conservative part of India, the pujaris are saying that almost 70% of priests in Devi temples are non-Brahmins. Why? Because they have come from the Bhakti tradition, right? Because they are the ones who take care of the deity, and so they are the ones who take care of the deity. Who are we to stop it, right? And same with Bharat temples, Shiva temples. Nearly 50-60% of those pujaris are also not born Brahmins. The ratio is a little less in Vaishnava temples because Vaishnava temples are stricter. But suffice it to say that 50% of all the priests in all the temples of India would be non-Brahmin. Not saying they would be Dalit, but they would be non-Brahmin. And when these Bodhas saying that you have to be born a Brahmin to be restart a temple, yeah, so that's a lie. And I have the numbers to prove it. So I'm not making an emotional argument. These are numbers, and anybody who doubts those numbers can go back to India and just casually ask 10 priests wherever they meet, what are you born in? And they will find out that 40 to 50% of them are not born Brahmins. So that was one. And then the second was, oh my God, this was very hurtful, very triggering, to use an American word. They said that temples are the bastions of caste discrimination because they wouldn't allow Dalits to enter the temple. Now, anybody who knows anything about India, Sanatana Dharma and all of that, knows that this cannot be true. Because again, we have the entirety of Bhakti movement and all of that. And then there are 100,000 people visiting a temple, an old temple on any particular day. Puri Jagannath temple, the head priest says that the footfall is nearly 100,000 or 150,000 per day. On weekends it is around 200,000. And so he says that everybody looks the same. How are you supposed to discriminate people based on their caste? I ask you what's your caste and you can just answer whatever you want, you answer and then we'll go. And how am I supposed to then ask the caste of 200,000 people on a busy day? Even if we wanted to, this would be physically impossible, was one. And then of course it's BS, to again use the US term. So those two things, do you have to be born a Brahmin to be a priest? And are temples bastions of caste discrimination? So these two are easily debunked. And they have been debunked, what do I say? They have been debunked in so many ways traveling across India. So it's not a fixed small data set. It's a long data set. And I could just take two and maybe some others can take another 5. I wanted to include, because these bozos have a lot of colorful things to say about the IIT's experience. According to them, IIT is a place that certifies your caste privilege into meritocracy. But I did not have the time to do it, and then of course IITs do not allow even me to film and interview them. So probably that's a challenge. But understand that somebody is saying something about Harvard and they've never been to Harvard Business School. Now, it should be common sense to say that the first thing is this a primary source of information or a secondary source of information? If you've never been to IT, you've never studied that, how do you know so much about IT society and who are you? So those are the kind of questions that we need to start asking scientifically, without emotionally. Just say that, is this a primary source of information that you are speaking about IT, or is it a secondary source of information? And I kid you not, those persons will not know the difference between primary source of information and secondary source of information. And then they would not know that a tolerance of 0.001% is ignored in scientific data. Right? So if we have 1 million temples, and of that 0.001% are problematic in whatever matrix you take, you should take that number into perspective. Again, a scientific theory that most people won't get, but we need to insist on it. Sorry, am I getting too technical here?
It's okay.
I think the audience is enjoying, because as carefully as they're listening to you, I'm sure they're getting what you're saying.
I hope.
Yes, but yes. What we're going to do, we're going to keep the time constraint in mind, and I'm going to open it up to the audience. I can take 2 to 3 questions for whoever's ready for a question. Yes, Amandaji.
I think I should stand up, otherwise it will be disrespectful.
No, that's fine.
Manners.
I hope you are from IIT and you are from the Jwalavati gang.
Vindhyachal.
Vindhyachal.
But we are neighbors.
We are neighbors.
Okay.
The question is, see, you have been talking about Hinduism and India very interchangeably. So when you did this ontological classification, did you take the consideration of Christian caste, Muslim caste, all the other castes? Your question has,
I know.
there are 18 castes.
So 2 things.
72 Muslim castes are there. And I'm not 100% sure whether this whole discussion about India and Hindu, you're using words like interchangeably.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some clarification.
So I get beaten by 2 states. Just like how you are beaten by the caste state, I get beaten by 2 states. Is this Varna or caste? And then second, why are you not talking about caste of other religions as practiced in Indian society? Because the caste thing it is an Indian society problem. It's not a Hindu theological problem per se. Because Muslims in India also have caste, and Christians in India also have a caste, and in their theology it is supposed to be strictly forbidden. Right? So, but I did not pick that because then that would be answering a question with another question. The charges labeled against Indian society is we are casteist.
Hindu society.
Also Indian. So Hindu society and then so let's say that the charges are that Hindu society is casteist. Now the answer to that will not be but the Christian society is also casteist. It's like saying I evade my taxes and when the police comes to catch me I say but my neighbor also evades taxes. It doesn't matter.
But that's not the question. I said, did you tackle that subject?
No, for the same reason. I did not tackle it for the same reason because I am trying to fight that labeling and so I cannot deflect the question and say it's not just my problem but 5 other people's problem. It is a problem of 5 of my neighbor is also a tax evader but then that's his problem. As far as I am concerned, I have to prove to you that I pay my taxes on time. So that's the reason.
Yeah, so income is narrowed.
I have a question. Good.
So I just wanted to get some points clarified. Some reports, I'm Sanchali Basu with Indo-American News. I've read a few reports. One is that in Gujarat, there are a few temples where Dalits are not allowed to enter. Second one, Puri, you mentioned Jagannath Puri, that's why I'm asking. I've heard that Caucasians are not allowed to enter.
Caucasians are not allowed.
And the third thing is, you mentioned something about some temples not allowing stitched clothes to be worn inside. So my question is, are women not allowed in there because they have houses with this act?
They are.
So if you could clarify, it could help.
So the third question. So even when we insist on tradition, we also understand the practicality of it. So if I go to the Padmanabha Swami temple in Kerala, I will take off my shirt, I will wear a dhoti, and then that's that. An Amma, a general term for all women, they would say, Amma, you can wear a sari, and then the blouse they make an exception for. So they're not crazy. Right, so they know what is practical and what is not, and so that's a beautiful part of it. Sadly, the temple in Puri does not allow Caucasian even if they are Hindu. So the declaration is non-Hindus are not allowed inside Puri Jagannath. That's the declaration. Now people of ISKCON are Hindus as they get. No matter what somebody else's opinion is, nobody can certify somebody else as Hindu or not. So, but they are not allowed. And the temple administration says that as far as the bhaks of Bhagwan are concerned, the deity also comes out of the temple for a day, and you can. So you're not barred as a bhakta of his darshan because the deity comes out in a day. And so a lot of those devotees who are devotees of Bhagwan actually are fine with it. So nobody is saying that, oh, but I have to get into this temple. They accept that, okay, I do, if I can't visit Bhagwan in the temple, Bhagwan visits me every year on Jagannath Yatra. And so when during COVID time Jagannath Yatra was halted, a Muslim devotee, can you believe it, files a case in the Supreme Court, says that this is the only day that we, the residents of Puri, irrespective of our religion, can do a darshan, can see our Bhagwan. And so please put it in tight security, do whatever, but please do not stop the Rath Yatra. And so, because this was such a case, the Supreme Court judge, who had earlier quashed all of these kind of requests, made an exception and allowed Puri Jagannath Yatra. So not ideal, probably, from an Western American lens, but we Indians who are living there are finding their Indian. So what was the first question? This was a difficult one.
The question was the Gujarat temple.
Yeah. So this is a good one, and I've spoken to it in a few podcasts. I've also done a lot of podcasts. So what happens is there are various types of temples also in our country. So one is the deity temples, which is the Shiva temple, the Devi temple, and all of that. And then there are temples which are Gotra temples, which are Kula temples, which are village temples, Gram Devata temples. And so what is happening is in those kind of temples, they are in a sense a private deity. So my village deity temple, if you were visiting that temple, it would be very, very common for somebody of that village to look at you and say, hey, but you are not part of the village. Why are you visiting our village deity temple? So they're not stopping you, but they are saying why? Because this is a village deity temple. And similarly with Kul Devi temples. If you're not part of the Kula, they will stop you. Like the famous Karni Mata temple in Jodhpur is actually the Kul Devi of the kings and their family. They have allowed everybody to visit it. But in a parallel universe, they could say this is a personal deity of our Kula, and so only our Kula will come and visit it. So they were well within their theological right to make that statement. So whenever we hear that some temples do not allow Dalit, if you read the story, you will figure out that this was the catchy headline, but beneath that, they are not allowing a lot of other people also. So it's not like they are barring Dalit to enter, but they are saying, okay, you are not part of this Gotra, and this is a Gotra temple, why are you here? And so then what happens is, if I am a journalist, or if I am a social commentator, I will say, okay, 10 other groups are barred, but Dalits are barred too, right? So I will just make a headline and say Dalits are barred from this temple. No, Nikhil Singh is also barred from visiting that temple because it does not belong to that Kula or that Gram or all of that. So what you hear is true. It's not the whole truth. So when you hear the whole truth, then you reach the third point. So that report is not a lie. It is a truthful report, but it's not the whole truth.
Okay.
So misinformation and half information, that's what you're trying to achieve through this.
Hi, I'm Sanjay Singhal. What is the target audience of your movie? Is it the Indians,
Your children.
Indo-American, or
Your children.
Our children. So basically, Americans of Indian origin living here.
Second generation.
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Sorry, I just answered this very, very quickly because I am assuming everybody else has some idea of India in their head. You have had a lived experience of India. Maybe in the 80s or 90s, but a lived experience nonetheless. Your children have no lived experience of India. And like all children, like me, they don't trust whatever their parents say. So they are obligated to believing whatever they read in their press. Yes, sir.
My name is Subodh. I interviewed you on the radio yesterday, all the way from California. Thank you so much. Congratulations on this film. I'd like to know, what is your own benchmark? When you started making this movie, what is your end result, your own feeling that this is going to be successful if this happens? Thank you.
This is such a beautiful question. Thank you so much. This I was telling my producers, and so we had a premiere in Los Angeles, and everybody loved it. And so this was the first experience for my producer because for him this is the first time that his movie is screening for people and everybody is happy about the film. Now, I've been doing this for 15 years. My first documentary went to 14 international festivals, won a bunch of awards, right? And so this is the fourth film like that. And so after the screening was over, I said that as a filmmaker, me and my editor, the film was good. And so everybody else saying, oh, we love the film, is that confirmation bias. And when we somehow manage to not make a decent film, it has not happened to me for a while, thank God. May it never happen to me. But sometimes when we cannot make a film decently or right, then anytime somebody says, being polite that, oh, we love your film, we feel like imposters. So do I have a checklist? No, it's from the heart. We see in the Avatar film idea of CC. We see the film, we see our own film, very dispassionately. A film, no matter its message, has to first deliver as a film, meaning that I can't bore you with it. If I am bored with you with it, doesn't matter what the issue I'm raising, does not matter how much research I've done. I have to first be successful as a filmmaker so that I do not lose your attention. And I can say very confidently that I will not lose your attention tomorrow. And I know this the day we finish it.
That was a very well said and a confident answer. And with that answer, we would like to wrap up. Nikhil Singh, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for all the work you put in to make a film like this. Thank you for your dedication and your team's work on this. Thank you.
So,